Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Abacus Next Free Training Thursdays webinar. This week, we're going to be focusing on the basics of the document assembly feature here within Amicus Attorney. As always, everyone, welcome. My name is Darren Juby, and I'm a Senior Training Specialist here at Abacus Next, with my focus being the Amicus Attorney product line. As we always do with these webinars on Thursdays here, if anyone has any questions at all during today's session, please do feel free to utilize the questions field here in GoToMeeting, and time permitting, we will get to answering those questions towards the end of our session today. And if not, as always, please do include your email address with your question, and I'll happily follow up with you afterwards to provide you with the information that you were seeking. And now, without further ado, let us begin discussing the basics of document assembly here in Amicus Attorney. So a brief agenda about what we're going to be talking about and demonstrating over the course of the next hour. We're going to briefly touch upon what is document assembly. From there, we'll touch upon document assembly-based firm settings. And then from there, we'll talk about document assembly-based preferences, and we'll do some demonstrations on both sides of that coin. From there, we'll talk about and demonstrate the workflow of generating a document from within Amicus Attorney. And then from there, we'll talk about the creation of new document templates. We'll also talk about editing a document template. We'll talk about custom fields on your document assembly templates. We'll touch upon deleting a document template. And then from there, I will provide some additional tips, time permitting, of course. And of course, towards the end, like I mentioned, I'll answer any questions that you guys may have presented during the session, time permitting, at the end of our session today. And of course, if not, like I said, please do include your email address, and I'll follow up accordingly afterwards. So, to begin, before we actually touch upon doing any demonstration or anything along those lines, let's begin by talking about what is document assembly. Well, in a nutshell, document assembly basically automates the production of your documents. It's very similar to a mail merge. Amicus uses a document assembly template that contains merge fields to pull information from the Amicus Attorney database and then merge that information into a finished document in the word processor of your choice. Amicus Document Assembly works with Microsoft Word, Corel WordPerfect, and Hot Docs. Now, for the purposes of today's webinar, we will be focusing on Microsoft Word, and in the case of what I'm actually using, Word 2016. So, you guys will now see that I'm logged into Amicus Attorney here on my desktop. And the first area of importance that I would like to take a look at with you all in regards to document assembly is the firm settings themselves. So, of course, as we all know, to access the firm settings, we must log into Amicus Attorney as an administrator. And then over here in the navigation panel of the Office module, we will see the administration section here. And under here, we'll have user management, security profiles, and so forth, but we will have firm settings here as well. And for those of you who have participated in any training sessions with me in the past, you will have heard me mention the fact that the firm settings are global or firm-wide settings that will affect all of our users within Amicus Attorney. Whereas whenever we talk about preferences, well, when we talk about preferences, those are more user-centric or user-specific settings that will really, in about 98% of cases, only affect the user themselves that are setting those particular preferences. So now that we've kind of elaborated a little bit upon that, let's talk about the firm settings themselves, and in specifics, the ones that will apply to document assembly. So as you can see here, I'm in the Office module of Amicus Attorney. I am indeed logged in as an administrator, and I'm going to click on Firm Settings here. All right, so of course the firm settings, like I said, they're only available to administrators within Amicus Attorney. Now that we're in the firm settings here, as you can see, I did click on firm settings here in the administration section. So now, under the documents section of the firm settings that we see here populated on the right, the first option available to us is management. And these are management options and location mapping. So I'm going to click on this very quickly here. And as you can all see here, I'm now being presented with the Firm Settings Documents Location dialog. So do note, there's the document assembly templates path right there. This path must be a UNC path, not a mapped drive. So as you can see here, mine is indeed a UNC path. It's 2 slashes, the server name of my Amicus Attorney application server. In this case, it's the same machine that I am on right now, which is trng-aa20 / document assembly templates. Now, this is a folder that gets created at the time of installation of Amicus Attorney. You could store your templates in another location, but there is no need to specifically do so. We provide that location for you, and at the time of installation of Amicus Attorney, the document assembly templates that are included within Amicus Attorney are installed in that location and made available for your use as well. And that folder is shared out so that everybody will be able to see it and access it upon the network as well. Now, to set this path, we can very easily simply click on the Browse button. And what I do recommend doing, unless you're going to type in the path itself, because we want you to use a UNC path, that is, like I said, highly recommended in this case, what I recommend you do is instead of going to this PC or my computer, depending on the operating system that you're running within, you want to go down to the network section here, expand it, and then as you can see, you'll get a list of all the different servers and computers and so forth on your network. Locate the Amicus Attorney application server. So in this case, there it is, trng-aa20. Like I said, that is my Amicus Attorney application server. And there is the document assembly templates folder. I simply select it like so and click OK. And voila, I have set my path. And this path will be carried over to the preferences of users, as I will demonstrate as we move along here. And now that we've successfully and correctly set the path, and like I said, we could have simply typed it in here if we knew the path, or we can use the Browse button to locate it. We can click the Apply button to save these changes and apply them, but keeping this dialog open. We can hit the OK button, which will save and apply these changes and close this dialog. Or if we're not 100% sure, and therefore a little bit wary of proceeding with this until we've made the confirmations of the path and so forth, perhaps we may want to hit the Cancel button. In doing so, it will discard any changes that we've made on this particular dialog. It will not save them, and it will not apply them. So in my case, I don't really want to make any changes. My path was already correct. So given all I've said about the Apply, OK, and Cancel buttons, I'm going to simply click on the Cancel button in this case. However, if this was one of you, and this was the initial setup of this particular path, you would either want to click the Apply button and then hit the OK button to close this, or simply hit the OK button to save these changes and apply them and close the dialog. So that's the firm settings side of things as far as document assembly is concerned. Really not a lot involved in that. Simply coming in as the administrator, going to Firm Settings, looking under Documents and selecting Management, and making sure that that path is correct and pointing to that Document Assembly Templates folder. And just to show you guys as well, as I open up a Windows Explorer window here, you'll recall that I mentioned that this folder is created at the time of installation of Amicus Attorney on your server. So if we look on my C drive, there's my Amicus folder that was created at the time of installation. There's my Amicus Attorney server folder. And in here, there is the Document Assembly Templates folder. And as you can see within are all the different document assembly templates that are provided along with Amicus Attorney. And like I said as well, that folder is shared out at the time of installation so that it is accessible and detectable on the network. So that, like I said, is the firm settings side of things. So moving along now, let's go back out to the Office module. I'm just going to simply go to Home here for the time being. And so now that we have taken care of the firm settings side of things, we now have to focus on the preferences side of things in regards to document assembly. And while I mentioned earlier, the firm settings apply to all users. They're global settings that will affect all of our firm members within Amicus Attorney. Well, now we're talking about preferences, and as I had mentioned earlier, those are user-centric or user-specific settings that will really only apply to the user that is setting that particular preference. And in this case, any user that wants to take advantage of the document assembly features within Amicus Attorney will have to do these preference settings at their respective desktops. Otherwise, it's not Amicus Attorney at their workstation is not going to be able to find the word processor and actually generate the documents for the individual, even after they've selected the template, for instance. So we're going to go through all of that together here now so that you guys can get an idea of what's involved and what you may have to have other users do if they are not taking a look at this session as well right now. So you'll be able to take this information and share it with your colleagues in the office. So like I said, we've taken care of the firm setting side of things, and we know that our firm settings apply to all users. So now we're talking about individual user-centric settings. So as such, we're here in the Office module, and at this point it would not matter whether I'm an administrator within Amicus Attorney or not, because like I mentioned, all users are going to have to do this. So each user will have preferences available up here in the upper left-hand corner of the Office module, as you can all see here. And as I click on Preferences, you'll see that my preferences are now populated over here on the right side of my screen. And so the preferences that we would like to focus upon today, we're going to get to that in just a moment, but I've got a few little tidbits of information I want to share with you all before we actually proceed with that. So a couple of precursors to this portion of our webinar today. Users must, and I need to stress the must portion of this statement, have a supported version of Microsoft Word or Corel Word Perfect. Now, if you're unsure as to whether or not your version is supported, please do refer to the hardware and software requirements for Amicus Attorney, which can be found on the Technical Resources Guide section of our website at abacusnext.com/amicus-attorney-technical-resource-guides-updates. Let me just quickly pull up that web page now for you all so that you can see what I'm referring to. Paula, I just happened to see your question here as I'm pulling up this website. This session is being recorded, so it will be made available on our website, probably not by end of day today, but it will be up there in the webinar section of our website in the very, very near future. I would say if not by end of this week, then by early next week, that video will be available. And so as you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, there is the hardware and software requirements for Amicus Attorney 20. So if we were to click on this link, apparently that link is broken right now. I will bring that to the appropriate people's attention, but that link should have brought us to the hardware software requirements for Amicus Attorney, and that would give us a list of the supported versions of Microsoft Office, Corel Word Perfect, and so forth, respectively. I will indeed, like I said, make sure that the appropriate people are aware of that broken link. And I do apologize for not being able to show that in completion. And you are quite welcome, by the way, Paula. So, moving along here, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, you can always refer to the technical resource guides and the hardware software requirements for the version of Word or WordPerfect that you might be using to confirm as to whether it is indeed a supported version. And as well, just an added note here, click to run versions of Microsoft Word are not supported. And also please note that it must be a 32-bit version of Microsoft Word or Office that you are using. 64-bit versions are not supported, and of course that would apply to Corel WordPerfect as well. So now, before we begin this next phase, you should always ensure that Word or WordPerfect has been closed prior to proceeding. And what I mean by that is, let's say that I had Microsoft Word open here, and I'm just going to very quickly open it up. So there's my Word 2016. I'm just accessing that from the Start menu in Windows here. And as well, while I've got Word open here, I will show you guys how you can very easily determine what type or what version of Microsoft Word you have. For instance, you'll see that I just went to Account Options off of the File menu here. This will give you information about the product itself, and if I click on About Word, well, you'll see that it is indeed telling me that I do have a 32-bit version of Microsoft Word right here. So again, if you're not 100% sure on whether your version of Microsoft Office, and in turn Microsoft Word, is 32 or 64-bit, this is a very easy way for you to quickly determine that. And again, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, to do that, here in Microsoft Word, I would go to the File menu, click on Account, and then, once I'm here on the Account screen, click on About Word, and that's where I will see whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit. So hopefully that is a helpful tidbit for you guys moving along. But what I really wanted to show you here is if I right-click down here and just quickly open up the Task Manager, what I was mentioning is you want to make sure that whatever word processor you're using, whether it's Word or WordPerfect, has been closed prior to setting up your document assembly preferences. Well, there's Microsoft Word running in my Task Manager, and there we see it there. And so I'm going to close it here quickly by simply clicking on the red X up in the right-hand corner. And it is indeed gone from my apps list here in the Task Manager. So I know it's not running anymore. But there are times where it could still be running in the background. And this is really why I wanted to show you guys this. If you're not 100% sure, or if you go to set your preferences and it tells you that Word is still running, but you believe that you have indeed closed it, well, open up your Task Manager and simply filter the list so it's alphabetical, like so. And you could even do it in descending order so that we're starting with the W's perhaps, and you would see whether Word was running there or not. So I'll close my Task Manager. I just wanted to show that off. Again, hopefully that's a little quick tip for some of you out there. And now, so we know that Word is now closed on my workstation. We're good to go from this perspective. We've logged into Amicus Attorney, and we have navigated to the preferences, again, by going to our Office module and clicking Preferences up here in the upper left. So now that we're in here, what we want to do is under the Document section, click on Document Assembly, just like so. And there we have our document assembly preferences. So the first step here is to select our default generation method. Our choices are as follows. You'll see that I've got Microsoft Word or MS Word Mail Merge, WordPerfect Merge, Hot Docs with MS Word in brackets, Hot Docs with WordPerfect in brackets, and Hot Docs Form in brackets. So MS Word Mail Merge, well, that's Microsoft Word. WordPerfect Merge, that's Corel WordPerfect. Hot Docs with MS Word in brackets, that's a combination of Hot Docs and Word. Obviously, the Hot Docs WordPerfect in brackets, that's Hot Docs and WordPerfect. And the last one, which is Hot Docs Form, that's using the actual form templates within Hot Docs itself. So what this setting here actually does is this determines which format any new templates that we might create will be created within. So if we use Microsoft Word in our office, on a regular basis, the odds are good that I should select MS Word Mail Merge here. That way any new document assembly templates that I create will be Microsoft Word format. And of course, if we have both Word and WordPerfect installed, we can create either type of template, as long as the configuration has been completed. So if I decide I want to create some WordPerfect templates today, I simply need to come in here and change this to WordPerfect Merge before I go ahead and do so. And vice versa. If I want to switch back to creating a Word template, I'd come back in here and set it back accordingly. Now, for the purposes of our webinar today, I'm going to leave it at Microsoft Word Mail Merge. So the second step is to install the Merge toolbar. And so I've uninstalled mine prior to our session today so that I could go through that workflow with you all. So let's click on the Install button here in step 2, and we'll go through the workflow of installing the Amicus Merge toolbar together. And so, as you can see, we get the Install Shield wizard here. I'm simply going to click Next, and then I will click Install. David, to answer your question, that is correct. Document assembly will not work with click-to-run versions of Microsoft Word. In fact, none of our integrations, such as Outlook integration and so forth, will work with click-to-run versions of Outlook either. So you always want to make sure it's a standalone version of Microsoft Office or Word or Outlook, respectively, that you are utilizing. And so, as you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, it was simple and quick. We simply click Finish here, and you will notice that this Install button has now changed to an Uninstall button. So this is also an easy way to tell, for those of you who may not remember 100% whether this has been done or not. You can simply tell by what the button is telling us. If it says Uninstall, then we know it's already been installed. So moving forward here, now looking at step 3. Well, this is where we will configure each of our word processing and document automation programs so that Amicus Attorney knows where to find them. So we're going to confirm the paths for Word, WordPerfect, HotDocs if applicable, and Adobe Acrobat Reader. Now, of course, when we talk about Adobe Acrobat Reader, we're not really generating PDF documents to that program. That toolbar is for a separate purpose, which allows you to open up a PDF document within Acrobat Reader. That adds an Amicus toolbar with which you can actually save and associate that PDF document to your files and so forth within Amicus Attorney. Now, in this case, you'll see that I've already pointed out where my Microsoft Word installation is. And mine is a 32-bit version of Microsoft Office, like I said. So let's go through this together. We would simply click on the Browse button. And what I'll do is I'll go to Local Disk C. And because I'm running in a 64-bit version of Windows, well, my operating system now has 2 program files folders. One is just program files, and that's where you would find the 64-bit applications that are installed. But then we have this other program files folder with x86 in brackets. That is where we will find the 32-bit applications that have been installed within our version of Windows. So let's take a look in that folder. And as you can see, there's the Microsoft Office folder. There's Office 16, which is the folder for Office 2016. And then once I'm in here, if I scroll down towards the bottom of the list here, well, there's winword.exe right there. That's the executable for Microsoft Word. So I can either select it by double-clicking on it, or I can single-click on it and click the Open button like so. And now, as you can see here, the path has been populated, and Amicus Attorney now knows where to find my copy of Microsoft Word. So then from there, I'm going to click this Install button here, which mine's showing Remove for some reason, but that shouldn't be the case. So I will apologize on that front, ladies and gentlemen. But as you can see, as soon as I did click on it, I get the Tasks Toolbar Setup Wizard. So let's quickly go through this workflow together. We simply click Next here. can click next there, next there. And now that installation has been completed, so I will simply click the close button, like so. All right, and in doing so, I have now set up both toolbars here. And this button should have been showing me install originally. It's now changed to showing install instead of remove, but what this should be showing and what it will in most cases for you guys is much like this one shows uninstall now, this one will now show remove. So at this point, I do want to save and apply these changes, but there's one other thing I want to show you guys here in this preference before we move along. And that is step 4, which is the fourth and final step. And that is where we go to confirm the document template's path is actually correct. So you'll recall when we talked about the firm settings, we talked about setting the path for the document assembly templates folder. And you'll recall that I mentioned that this setting will be carried forward and applied to people's preferences. Well, as we can see, that is indeed the case here. And in the rare case where that doesn't occur, for whatever the reason may be, you could simply click on the Browse button and do the same thing. You'd want to go down to Network, locate the server, expand it, and there's that document assembly templates folder. Like I said, it is shared out at the time of installation so that people can see it on the network and access it. So with that said, I would simply select it like so, and that would populate that path for me. From there, I can click Apply to save these changes and keep this dialog open. After applying them, of course, I can click the OK button to save and apply these changes and close this dialog, or I can click the Cancel button to discard all of these changes and close the dialog without applying them. Well, in this case, I do want to apply my changes, so I'm going to say OK. And that is how simple it is to go through the preferences for document assembly. Once that has been done at each respective workstation, this user, who has now set their preferences accordingly, is now able to proceed with taking advantage of the document assembly features within Amicus Attorney. And so this is a perfect segue for us to move along to the next portion of our presentation here today, where we're actually going to go through the workflow of generating a document. So like I said, we've covered the setup and configuration steps for document assembly in both firm settings and preferences. And we're also going to do what I like to tell people is a best practice or a tip towards best practice. So with that being said, let's quickly go to the File menu and select Exit, like so. Anytime you make any changes from the perspective of your preferences, it is highly recommended that you simply log out and log back into the program very quickly, like I'm doing right now. And in some cases where your administrator might set some firm settings, well, in those cases as well, they may not apply for you until you've logged out and logged back into the program. So your administrator may come to you at some points throughout a day and say, hey, everybody, when you have a moment, just log out and log back into Amicus Attorney quickly because I've made a change. And that might have been adding a file type or something along those lines to a list. And therefore, you guys simply need to log out and log back in to make that change refresh for you. While the same holds true in this case, we've just set up the document assembly toolbars and stuff. So let's avoid any potential pitfalls by simply doing that quick log out, log back in. Okay, and I will simply click OK on our notification screen there. And just like our help tip says here today, happy Valentine's Day, everyone, from all of us here at Abacus Data Systems, and Abacus Next, I should say as well. So, moving along here now. So, we've logged out, we've logged back in, so our changes will indeed have taken effect now. So now it's time for us to actually look at the workflow of generating a document. We'll begin by generating a simple letter to one of our clients. So there's multiple ways that we could do this. And there's multiple areas from which we can do this as well. But we're going to stick to this for today's presentation. So I'm going to move to the people module here. So here I am in the people module of Amicus Attorney. And as we know, this is where all of our contacts will be found. And of course, these are either contacts that we, as the user that we're logged in as, have created, or others have created within Amicus Attorney and have included us as an assigned firm member upon. Or perhaps we are assigned to a file to which that client or that contact has been assigned, and so forth. But that's a different topic for a different day. So right now we've navigated to the people module. We're seeing our list of contacts. And like I said, there's multiple ways in which I can generate a document from this point. They are as follows. I could select a contact here in my list, so we'll select Mr. Costanza here. He's one of my all-time favorites. We could go to the Actions menu and select Generate a Document, like so. We could right-click on Mr. Costanza here and select the option to generate a document. I could click the Generate Document button right up here, like so, after selecting the contact. Or I can select the contact, and if I'm a fan of using keyboard shortcuts, I could hit Control-D on my keyboard, and no matter which way I go about it, I'm going to get to the same screen here, which is asking me to select the template that I would like to use for generating this document. So let's now select our template. I'm going to go to the letters group here. We're going to do a nice simple one, blank letter word. And let's say OK on that. So I've selected my template there, as you saw, and I've clicked OK. Now, you'll note that it's asking me which file I want to base this upon. Well, that's because we're generating this document from the contact level, if you will. If I was generating this from the Files module, from a file, then I would not be being prompted for the file here, like I am right now. But in this case, we'll select our Costanza versus Vandelay Industries file, like so, and say OK on that. And part of the reason that I'm being prompted for that is because the particular document assembly template I've selected, the blank letter word, does have a reference to the file. So I had clicked OK here, so we're just waiting for, there we go. So Microsoft Word is now opening, as you guys can see here. So first Word opens, then the template itself opens. And then that template is populated with data from the Amicus Attorney database as it's merged into the merge fields that are on this template. And the result is a finished document, as you see here. So I'm just going to move this for a moment. You'll see there's our firm name. If I had the phone number and fax number information in my firm like you guys would normally do, then that information would be presented here as well. But there you'll see today's date. There's the client ID and matter ID respectively for the file and the contact or the client. There's the contact information itself. There's the file information. So recall I said that was part of why we were being prompted for the file is because this particular document assembly template does refer to the file. And then, of course, there's my closing line. Now, as well, before I do anything with these particular prompts over here, you'll note that this is indeed a finished document, not the document assembly template at this point, and I can add to this finished letter. So I could add a little blurb of text here or here or here. I'm just going to put some gobbledygook in here. But again, this is just to demonstrate what we can do before completing the full process of this. So we'll presume that I've added a paragraph or two of information here for this particular letter. And at this point, I can opt to save and associate to an Amicus file. So let's go through that workflow very quickly here as well. I could simply say OK on this. You'll see I've got my option selected to save and add to Amicus as a document. I could add it as a library page. I could save and do not add to Amicus, or I could select the option to not save and not add. Now again, I'm not going to do that in this case because I want to show you guys this workflow. So let's click OK on this. And so as you'll see, I'm being prompted first to save the document. So I'm going to just select the location for this, and we'll put webinar doc gen test, and we'll save that. So in doing so, you'll see that while I am still here in Microsoft Word, from Amicus Attorney up comes a document detail dialog, as you can see here. Well, there's the path of the document itself along with its name, and you'll note that the title here is based upon the actual document name. However, I can change that if I want to. Document generated during webinar. So as you can see, I can have that title completely different. I can also add summary notes if I wanted to do so. I could add it to a document group by simply clicking here. And there you'll see I get my options for my document groups. And of course, your administrator can customize this list as well for you. It's based on file type. I can take a look at my file and contact associations as well as my firm member associations. So there you'll see that that's where it's telling me what file it's associated to. And if I wanted to change that, I could simply click on the file folder icon, remove that file by clicking this one and select a different file. I'm not going to do that in this case. There's my contacts. Again, I could associate this with additional contacts as well by simply clicking the People Selector button like so. And there you'll see it's giving me the contacts that are on the file. And of course, I could filter my list differently if needed to. And here is where I can add additional firm members if I want to assign this document or make it accessible for additional firm members. For instance, I could add Perry Mason on here. We'll just do that as an example so you can see. So now both myself and Perry will see this document in our Documents module, and it will be available to us on the file as well, obviously. And then from there, I could associate this to an event if I wanted to. And if I wanted to add any notes to this particular document, I could do so from here by clicking the New button and adding a new note. Peter, I won't cover the updating of the letterhead itself. That's a little bit more of a tricky thing to do, but I will be going over the actual updating of the templates here as we move along, yes. And so just so we see here, I've covered everything here, so I'm going to simply click OK to save that. You're quite welcome, Peter. And so as you can see, we are saving our document here by me clicking OK on that. And then there's this document in Microsoft Word. So I'm going to simply close this document now. And just to show you here on the contact itself, if I open up Mr. Costanza, I apologize, Dan. However, we're not covering the addition of letterheads during this presentation today. I apologize. That would be something that we might cover in an actual document assembly training session, or that could be something that you could talk to our technical support guys about, and they would be able to explain what you need to do in that respect. So as I mentioned here, we've opened up the contact. And if I look down here, there's the documents on this contact, and I can see my documents. So there's the document that we just generated and added. And as well, I can see all documents. So just so you guys know, whenever we see this either on a file or in a People Details dialog, when we're seeing the My designation, these are all the records that I have created and associated to the file or to the contact. When I look at all, well, these are all of these types of records that are associated to this particular file or the particular contact from all firm members. So as you can see here, it's not just my stuff. Whereas when we look here, this is just my information. And as well, we could go to the file. And if I open up the Costanza versus Vandelay Industries file, And again, if I look at the documents, much like I was saying to you guys here, so if we look at the documents on the file, there's my documents, and there's that one that we just generated together, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, there's the all documents, and then there's the groups, letters, faxes, and miscellaneous correspondence. So if I had associated this document to one of those groups, like I showed you guys on the document details, then I would simply click on that particular group to see that document within it. And of course, from the file here as well, you'll see where you've got a generate document option there. And you'll have the same one up here that we noted in the people module earlier. And those same options are available. If I wanted to generate a document on the file, I can do it by right-clicking or going to the Actions menu and selecting Generate a Document, or Control-D on my keyboard as well. So that, in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, is just how easy it is within Amicus Attorney to generate a document and associate it to a file. So now that we've covered all of that, let's go through now the workflow of creating a new document template. And again, I will apologize to Peter and Dan, but these are more informational sessions and really demonstrating what we can do, not so much how we do it all. That's more what our training sessions would be geared towards. So again, I do apologize for not being able to cover everything, folks. And can anyone delete my document, or is it protected? Well, Gemma, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, and if not, I will apologize, but we're going to be covering that in just a few moments as we get into this portion of the session. So now that we've covered generating a document, we're going to move along to creating a new document template. Perfect, thanks, Gemma. So every firm member has the ability to create and modify document assembly templates, unless, and I'm going to stress the unless portion of that, they have been restricted from doing so by the security profile that has been applied to them by the administrator within Amicus Attorney. If you find yourself unable to do this, what I'm about to show you guys here, of course, then please do speak with your Amicus administrator to discuss and resolve that further. So to begin with, all of us, like I said, can edit or create document assembly templates. And sorry, I see Paula's question here. How can you alter the merged fields in the form templates? For example, when I look at my letter template with fields, it says date, but it comes up with a day of week and the actual date, which I would just prefer. That I might have to do a little digging on for you, Paula. So if you could provide me your email address as well, I will follow up with you accordingly on that front. I apologize. I don't know that I have the time in our session here today to try to pinpoint all of that information for you, but I will definitely gather that and provide it in a follow-up for you. So as I said here, we can all log into the Office module within Amicus Attorney. Oh, you're welcome, Paula. I appreciate that. Thank you. So we've logged into the Office module here, and what we want to do, all of us will have this Merge Templates option available up in the upper left-hand corner like so. And if I click on this, well, you'll see that up comes Template Management. So this here provides us with a list of our document template groups. And when I mention document template groups, well, I want you all to think of these as file folders for your document assembly templates, essentially. So for instance, we've got letters, we've got general practice, we've got file reports. So as you can see, these are groupings of similar style templates, for lack of a better way of putting it. Now, to begin with, I'm going to show you guys how to create a new document template group. And it's very simple. We would simply come in here to Template Management, and we would click New Group like so. And we will call this Webinar Templates, just like so. So that's how easy it is to create a new document assembly template group. Well, we've created the group now, so let's now create a new template within that group. And of course, right now, I'm going to show you guys how to create a blank template. Then we'll quickly create one based off of another template, and then I'll show you guys how to delete a template. These are going to be quick demonstrations based on time, but I really want to show you guys this stuff. So with all of that said, we've created our webinar templates group just here. And so now we're going to create a new template. So what I want to show you is if I click on the group first and then click New Template, So you'll see the first thing I'm prompted for is a template name. So we'll call this webinar test 001. And you'll see that the template group is already selected for me as webinar templates. Now, if I hadn't selected that group beforehand, well, that's okay, because I could select from this drop-down menu. But I figure if I can give you guys little tidbits that help along the way, well, that's part of what I'm really striving to do here as well. So we've made our selections there. I'm going to very quickly click Create Template, like so. And as well, we do have options here for templates for generating a document or an email, and this template is available for use by all firm members or a restricted firm member. I'll go over that again in a little bit more detail here in a moment, but basically what that means is you can kind of restrict the template while you're creating it, and that might be a good idea during the creation process. You don't want a lot of people trying to generate documents off of something that you're still working on, essentially. It might not be done, and therefore you can't guarantee they're generating proper documents. So you may want to keep it restricted to yourself, and again, I'll show you what I mean in a little bit more detail as we move along here. So here I am. In Microsoft Word, I've got a blank template in front of me now. So what I would do is click on the Add-ins ribbon like so, and you'll see there's a Select Fields button here. If I click on this, this is where I would select the Amicus Attorney merge fields from. So for instance, I'll go to Category, and we'll go down to Firm Information to begin with. And so perhaps I want to scroll down here, and there's my firm name. So perhaps I'm going to insert that right there. So you'll recall from my document assembly template earlier, my firm name was at the top. Well, there it is right there. And then I can hit, so then let's just backspace on that. Or let's close there. So there's my firm name. Perhaps I want to center that. We'll make it bold. We'll make it center. We'll make it 26. And we'll give it this font. Okay, so we'll do that very quickly. And I'll add one more merge template, again, just so you guys can see the workflow here. So we'll add one more. We'll say that this was, I could get some file basic information, for instance. So we could put the short file name in here, for instance, like so, and say close. So I'm going to save this just as it is. Very basic document assembly template. I probably wouldn't use for anything, but I'm really just trying to show you quickly the workflow. So never go to the File menu and select Save As when you're doing this, folks. That process has already been done in the background by Amicus Attorney. So simply click on the Save button up here, like so, and then close the template like so. And there's that template right there. Now, very quickly, I'm going to edit it here. And there's those options for all firm members or the following firm members. So like I was saying, you might want to restrict this to yourself, for instance, by doing something like this. And then saying, okay, so this template is only available to me while I'm working on it. Once I've completed the template, then I might want to come back and switch it to all firm members. So that was creating a template, a blank one from scratch. What if I want to create one based upon an existing template? So I've already showed you how to edit a document template. We would simply go here. Oh, sorry, let me make a correct selection here. Sorry, bear with me a moment here. Okay, so if I wanted to create a template based upon an existing one, then what I would do is simply select the template from the list. So we'll use blank letter Word as an example. So you'll see I've selected it from the list. And then I will click on the New Template button like so. And you'll see I'm being prompted. Do I want to create the new template based upon the selected one? I can say yes to that. And then, of course, I go through the same workflow. We'll call this Webinar Letter Word, like so. And I'm going to put it in that same folder, Webinar Templates, that we created together earlier. I'll leave my other settings like so. We'll say Create Template now. And so here again, Microsoft Word is opened up. And so there, you'll see that it's already got the document or the merge templates that were included on that blank letter Word included here on this new template that we've just created. So this is kind of our starting point at this point. And now we could simply add to this or edit it as we so choose. Perhaps I don't want this information here. Or perhaps I don't want this like so. Perhaps I want it to be more over like so. And maybe I want it bolded as well. And then perhaps I want this. And I'll remove that from there. And we'll put it there perhaps. Or perhaps I want to add some more fields. So that's where I would come in here, click on Select Merge Fields, and I would select the appropriate fields to put in there. So as you can see now, I've started off at this point, and I could simply go from here. So I'm just going to save this guy like so. We'll presume that I've made some drastic changes to this document assembly template. Again, I don't really have the time to do so right now for you all. But again, we can presume that that was the workflow. I simply saved it like so. I'll close it. And so there is now those two document assembly templates that we've just created together within that document template group. So that's how easy it is to either create a new template from scratch or to create one based upon an existing one. And I know that this was a very quick demonstration of that, but I hope that gets across just how easy it really is. I don't want you guys to be daunted by this at all. There are some intricacies to it, but from the get-go, I don't want you to think it's an intimidating thing at all. And some people do. So that's really what I want to stress here is it's really accessible and really easy to get into this stuff. Now, if we wanted to edit a document template, well, we simply go to our merge templates here like we're here right now, clicking merge templates here, select the template we want to edit, and click the edit button like so. Now from here, we're editing the details as far as Amicus Attorney is concerned, perhaps access. This is where you might want to make it accessible to all firm members at this point, or whatever the case may be, but you will see that there is an option for the edit template from here. And that's what I would click to open it up in Word and make edits. Matthew, that's all based on which template you've got it pointing to. When people mention envelopes to me, what I usually do is point that to one of the Avery Labels templates. And I'll show you what I mean by that very, very quickly here. Let me just say cancel on that. I'm going to close out of here quickly. We'll come right back to there. But Matthew, your administrator within Amicus Attorney needs to go to Firm Basics, unless, of course, you are the administrator. And if that is the case, then what you would do is where you've got the envelope option right here, click this icon right here, and what that's telling me based on what you've said is it's bringing up the letter form, so that tells me you might have it pointing to blank letter Word, for instance, or one of the other letter templates. What I would suggest doing is here under letters, you'll see that there are Avery labels. Now, those are not an envelope template per se, they are a template for a sheet of Avery labels. So depending on the size you're using, whether it be 5160, 5161, or so forth respectively, you would select that respective template, and then whether it's Word or WordPerfect, of course, and that would generate a document with each of those labels. So there could be like maybe 3 across on each row throughout that page, for instance. Then however many contacts you may have selected, it would print out on that document that you've generated, which would be the Avery labels, the labels for the contact or contacts that you may have selected. So let me quickly cancel out of there. And I'm just going to go back to merge templates here quickly because Paula, you had, or was it Paula that had asked about this earlier? Or it was Gemma that had asked about deleting and so forth. So if you don't want people to be able to delete the template and so forth, that's where I would say, make your edits and restrict it so that it's only available to yourself. And then that way, you can never worry about somebody deleting it. But outside of that, If they've got access to it from all firm members, then, well, anybody can come in and delete. So now, as far as deleting a document assembly template, well, we would simply select it from the list here. We can click delete like that, and you'll see it is prompting me. Do I want to delete the template file as well? Well, for the purposes of our session today, I'm going to say yes, because then that clears it off my system for the next time I do one of these sessions. Another way we could do that is simply clicking like that, hitting edit on the template itself, and you'll see I've got the delete button here, and I get the same prompt. Do I want to delete the template file as well, or simply remove it from the list of available templates? Well, I'm going to remove the template from the list, and I'm going to remove Paula, to answer your question, which is a choice for a number 10 envelope, I do not know how to answer that question for you. I apologize. That would be something I would suggest perhaps take up with our technical support guys. They might have a better idea, but as far as a number 10 envelope goes, you would have, if there's an Avery label for that size of envelope, then perhaps that's what you use. But outside of that, these are not envelope templates that I've shown you. They are Avery label templates. So if you want a custom template for an envelope, and in particular a number 10 envelope, that might be something you either have to create yourself or talk to our professional services team and have them create for you. Now, I'm going to show you guys how to delete the group here as well. I've simply selected that webinar templates group that we created together earlier, and I will click the delete button just like that. And again, if there was any templates within there, it is asking, do I want to remove them as well? In my case, I had already removed them, but I'll check that off just to be safe. Now, we ran out of time, so I wasn't able to fully demonstrate it for you guys, but any custom fields that you have created on your contacts would be selectable within Microsoft Word. Let me very quickly open up a blank letter Word template here. We're going to edit it. I just want to show you guys this before we wrap up our session today, because this I feel is of great importance and adds so much more to the document assembly feature itself. For those of us that, like I said, do take advantage of the custom fields feature within Amicus Attorney, if we've created those custom fields on our contacts, then what we can do is, I'm just going to place my cursor here, for instance. I'm going to go to add-ins. Let's click on the merge fields button here like so, and you are welcome, Gemma. And so if I look down here, you'll see there's an option for people custom information. So in my case, I unfortunately do not have any custom fields that I've created on my contacts, thus we see nothing in this list. But this people custom information, as you can see here, would be where you would select that information or those fields from. If you wanted to add any custom fields that you've created that are on your files, then from there, or from here I should say, in the category section, we would look at file custom information. And of course, for those of you familiar with custom fields and records and so forth within Amicus Attorney, you will note that custom fields must be associated to a file type. So with that said, let's select our file type accordingly. Let's say civil litigation in this case. And again, I don't have any custom fields I myself have created, but there are some in here for some e-bills and stuff. And oh, look at that. We do have a couple here, one for memo one for social insurance number, and one for social security number. So perhaps I grab his social security number one, and we'll put that right there. So I can add that information to this document, just like that. So that was not a field that was initially available within Amicus Attorney. We've added that field to our files. And once I've populated that information, I can then have that as part of this document, just like that. Now, we've pretty much hit the end of our session today here, folks. I hope I've been able to answer everybody's questions. I know that, Paula, I will have to do a little digging on yours, and I will follow up with you accordingly in regards to that question. But if anybody has any additional questions, I will save a couple of moments here. Like I said, I know we've gone over, but I will definitely add some time here for us. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, please submit them through the questions field here, and I will try to answer them over the course of the next couple of moments. Paula, I don't know which Avery choice would be for a number 10 envelope. I apologize on that front. You would have to check with the Avery people on that front, or somebody on our technical support team may know the answer to that question, but I will admit that I simply do not know the answer to your question regarding a number 10 envelope. I apologize, but I hope that you can find that information. Again, I would check with the Avery guys first because they're the ones who design those labels, and Google might even actually have that information for you. Elizabeth, this webinar will be available to review at a later date. It won't most likely be uploaded today, like I said earlier, but it will be available on the webinar section of our website moving forward. Oh, you're quite welcome. And again, Paul, I'm sorry that I don't have the answer for you on that number 10 envelope. I really do apologize on that front, but I will look into your other one, and while I'm doing so, I will do some digging on the number 10 and see if I can find anything out for you on that front. I'll make no promises on that front, but I will try my best for you. And you are quite welcome, Elizabeth, and happy Valentine's Day to you as well. Glenn, I'm not sure on that because again, they're not Word templates. They're Amicus merge templates. So they're not going to take advantage of things within Microsoft Word. I do apologize for that. Or I guess I apologize for not being able to give you hopefully the answer you were looking for on that front. You're welcome, Paula. And okay, ladies and gentlemen, I do have to basically kind of cut us off at this point. We are now 5 minutes past the hour, and I don't want to take up any more of your very valuable time today. I would like to say thank you very, very much to all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules today for joining our session. I hope that everyone was able to take something away from this today and that you all learned something about document assembly basics. And of course, this was a very high-level overview, and we have to rush through certain portions. So again, my apologies on that front for some of you that were looking for a little bit more from that perspective, but always do keep in mind as well, our webinars are really more demonstrations about things that we can do within the program, and we try to show you guys how to do so in a quick and efficient manner, but they're not as in-depth as a true training session would be. But with all of that being said, again, I want to say thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules for attending and participating in our free Training Thursdays session today for Abacus Next, and that was Amicus Attorney Document Assembly Basics. Next week, we are doing, I believe it is the Ask Us Anything session, but please do check our webinar section on our website from the most up-to-date information. And you're welcome as well, Peter. And again, thank you all for attending. Have a wonderful rest of your day today and an even better week and weekend to come.